welcome back to the P51D, and we are now making a guided lift off or take off. I always say lift off, but it's actually takeoff. Welcome to the takeoff lesson. Today we will practice taking off in the P51D. Press the space bar. The P51 is generally very controllable in takeoff, but the powerful engine and large propeller spinning at the front do require careful use of the rudder in order to maintain a straight course down the runway. A right rudder trim of 5 to 6 degrees is a standard takeoff setting and is usually sufficient to maintain directional stability in the takeoff turn. A normal takeoff is performed at takeoff power, which is 61 inches of manifold pressure at 300 RPM. However, to minimize controllability issues while practicing, we will take off at a reduced power setting of about 50 inches of manifold pressure. And that is too much for me already. We need the meter in here. Normal takeoff will be in here, which is impossible for me to control. Even the 50 is just so fucking high. I would prefer something like 40 but I'm not sure if the plane will rise at that settings. Your primary instruments during the takeoff run will be airspeed indicator on the left side of the instrument panel and the manifold pressure indicator on the right side. Once in the air, we will use the turn indicator and the rate of climb indicator to maintain a desired flight path. Press space key to proceed. The first key element of a successful takeoff is a gradual onset of power. You cannot just slam the throttle forward. The torque effects of a sudden burst of power are very likely to run you off the runway and into the grass with devastating results. The other key element is the tail lift. As the aircraft accelerates toward 100 miles per hour, the tail will lift itself off the ground, unless held down with some stick back pressure. You can perform a takeoff without the tail lift by simply holding the stick back to maintain a 3-point attitude until the plane flies itself off the ground. Most pilots, however, prefer to let the tail rise up to continue accelerating while running on the front wheels before lifting off into the air. Press the spacebar key to proceed. Now this is the main thing that I've learned from these tutorials. You don't have to get or lift the plane up from the runway. It should lift itself when enough speed. The takeoff starts with the stick held back to keep the tail wheel locked for a controller ground run. Oh, now I have to add one thing. You actually have to lift every single, not included 109. You basically have to lift all the planes up in Cliffs of Dover, especially the heavy bombers. You have to sort of jank them off the ground. I guess that's probably realistic. Don't know, haven't flown World War II bomber, never actually. The takeoff starts with the stick held back to keep the tail wheel locked for a controlled ground run. To perform a tail lift, neutralize the stick as speed approaches 100 miles per hour. Be careful to avoid lifting the tail too early by pushing the stick forward. The changes in pitch angles occurring during the tail lift cause significant directional instability, which is more difficult to control at slower speeds. Careful rudder input will be required to maintain heading as the tail lifts. You may need to alternate a bit of right and left rudder input before stabilizing for the liftoff. Flaps are not used in a normal takeoff. 15-20 degrees of down flaps are used when a minimum run takeoff is required. Press right control enter to open the controls indicator so you can monitor the position of your flight controls. To prepare for the takeoff run, set the rudder trim for about 5 degrees right. Click and drag the rudder trim and tap control wheel. I'm just gonna use my mapped keys here to trim the rudder like that. On the throttle quadrant, make sure arm level is set all the way forward to increase. If not, press and hold to set it. It's full. Hold down the wheel brakes using... No, I'm just gonna hold my wheel brakes. Control the throttle to set manifold pressure to about 30 inches. It's there. Keep the stock pulled somewhat after of neutral to keep the tail wheel locked. Whenever you're ready, release the wheel brakes to begin to take off run. The fucking park brakes don't. Fucking park brakes are stuck. Damn it. They are stuck. What the fuck am I supposed to do with those bloody parking brakes? Come on, get the fuck off. Okay, now they're off. New try. Manifold pressure at 30. Tail wheel locked, hopefully. Release the brakes. Use the rudder to maintain your heading down the runway. Gradually add the power to 50. Fuck, this plane tries to throw me off the fucking runway. And that's it. Oh, fuck. New try. Okay, and we will try now the free start, because we already know the guided tour, so we don't need that. Okay, let's try again. shit. There's a heavy side wind. To get some airspeed here. Gonna drop the bubble pitch a little bit. Neutralize the rudder trim. And I am up. Lower the nose with the trim a little bit. We are flying now, although very slowly. Do we have our gears still down? Yes, we have them up, so that should not be a problem. Let's get some airspeed here. You want to see shooting, so let's arm the guns. What would we shoot? Let's find a target. Let's attack that power generator or whatever building that is. That's at least big enough for me to hit it. Now I'm coming to port on the target. What the hell? Weapons don't work. I'm unarmed. I don't have weapons. That's a shame. Yep, nothing happens. I guess I don't have guns. Okay. They anticipated that I will be shooting civilian buildings here. Okay, let's try to land this. I haven't actually practiced any landing, so this will be hilarious too. I will probably die horribly screaming. But we did get up in the air, although it was very fucking difficult. And no way I'm going to be any good at taking off for a long time. I have to practice that a lot. And that just makes this even better. some speed. Whoa! I'm gonna die. I'm gonna die. Fuck, 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 fuck. I really fucked up. Sorry. I wonder how much those planes cost.